Welcome, everybody. It is that part of your weekend. A new episode of Scenes from the Spectrum, episode 17.
Here's Ilyasova. Here's McConnell. Can he get it off? Yeah! And the Sixers win it! 7 seconds to play. Iverson against Gill. The crowd on its feet. Allen for the win! Yes!
I don't think we can ever change that.
No, it's gonna stay there forever and ever and always.
That just has to stay there. I mean, maybe we'll get a new title screen sometime, but like that song just has to stay there forever. Graham, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, man. That intro made me feel a little bit better. We're currently halftime of Thursday Night Football, so we're gonna just get this out real quick.
A little late night recording,
Yeah,
but we're here. We're ready to give you some content. And
my fantasy team struggling once again for the second week in a row. We're not looking pretty on that front.
I actually we just heard Juju caught a big ball. So
we're hearing Juju might have caught a pass. So that's a first. So that's good for me. But we do have some headlines. Spice it up. Tony, hit that music for me, please. But some news actually happened. Like, believe it or not, Daryl Morey was in fact not done. As a couple days ago, it was confirmed he signed the dotted line. Montrezl Harrell is the new Sixer as he signed 2 years, $5.2 million. A former Rocket, played great with the Clippers back in his heyday. He's been, iffy for a little while, but he would be on the 76ers backup center. Furkan Korkmaz gotten a huge beef with the entire nation of Georgia, and things got a little hectic. We could say that. And at the very end of this episode, we will grade every offseason move of the Sixers. So those are your headlines. Let's start with Montrezl Harrell. Your initial thoughts of the signing, Justin?
Listen, a while back, it was a day after free agency. We tweeted out on our Twitter account at SFTS Podcast. We said, according to sources, Daryl isn't done. And in fact, he wasn't done. I really like this signing, Montrezl Harrell, getting a guy for 2 years on such a low contract, a guy that's 28 years old. And I wouldn't say he's playing poorly, but he can contribute in the regular season. My only problem is I have two problems with it. One, it takes away from Paul Reed or even Charles Bassey. And two, correct, it's another vet that Doc can potentially play too long in the playoffs, and it's a possibility that it can do some damage to us.
Yeah, he was at Charlotte at the end of last season, and he still was pretty efficient. On 2-pointers, he shot around 65%, which is pretty good for that center position. He won't give you anything stretching the floor wise. He cannot shoot the 3-ball quite well. But he is going to average around 12 points per game if he's given the minutes, which is around 20 minutes a game, which we're expecting out of that backup center role. So I think he's going to be serviceable enough. Playing with someone like James Harden in that second unit, I feel like will do him pretty well because he can be effective as a rim runner. That's going to be big for him, but we really need him to step in and be a bit of a better rebounder than he has in years past. The highest total of rebounds he's ever averaged is 7.1. That was in 1920 with the Clippers when he averaged almost 19 points and was in the running for Sixth Man of the Year. But again, I think that, he's going to be available. He's played 82 games in 2018, 2019, played 71 last year, 69 the year before, and 63, which is basically the entire season in 1920 due to the shortened COVID bubble. So he's going to be available. And that's one of the biggest things is that even when Joel is going to eventually get his rest, we should have a starting center caliber player ready to go.
Yeah, and I think, he'll definitely win us quite a few games in the regular season. I'm not so sure about playoffs and what he can do in the playoffs, but Daryl is keeping this trend going of signing former Rockets. Montrezl Harrell has not recently, early in his career played for the
Yeah,
Rockets. I'm not
2000
sure what year.
his first 2 years, I believe. Yeah, it's 2015-16 and then 16-17. And then he went to the Clippers, played with them for 4 years, and then had stints with the Lakers, the Wizards, and then the Hornets at the end of last year. But he should be settling in to a place where he knows where he can be for 2 years. You see a lot of guys sign these 1 year deals, and they're never able to settle in. So that's one of the biggest things for me, and he's going to be the best we've seen since a Dwight Howard, which is good. Or excuse me, not Dwight. Since Andre Drummond. Sorry,
There you go.
Dwight sucked. But I think that's going to be good for us. Someone that can really set a tone when we needed to, and he's going to get some starts. He's going to get around 12 starts because Embiid's not going to play the entire 82 games, and that's the biggest thing. He needs to be available to start those games. Too many times we're trotting out a Paul Reed or Charles Bassey and expecting them to play 35 minutes in a game because Joel Embiid was either injured or taking a rest day, load management. So with him, that you kind of erase that where you have someone it's a veteran, can start, and that's going to be the biggest thing. Is when we had Drummond, there was no problem with Drummond starting at center because we knew he wasn't Joel Embiid, but he was a starting center in the NBA, and that's what we get here.
Yeah, and kind of one of your top priorities of the offseason was how can we win the non-Embiid minutes? And I'm pretty sure we did that. Especially with signing Arrow. You're getting you're pairing Harden along with an elite roller with
Correct.
the non-Embiid minutes, but we don't really I don't really know much about his playoff viability, what he can do in the playoffs. But one guy I feel bad for is Paul Reed. I would have liked to see Paul Reed step up in the backup center spot. I believe he is ready for it. But this definitely puts a downer on him. If we're not going to give him a shot, I mean, I'm sure half the league would rather give him a shot.
Yeah, that's the thing is you got to keep these guys willing to be a part of a system, and Paul Reed still will be able to get his minutes, but nothing that another team couldn't. If the Orlando Magic were to say, "You want to be our backup center," or another team of that effect, or the Thunder, where they could easily with Chet down, they could say, "We need someone like Paul Reed on our team," because you really can't play him in the G League anymore. He's obviously too
He's
far
way too good.
advanced to be in the G League, not good enough to be on the Sixers. He's good enough to play NBA basketball, but not necessarily on the Sixers. So I think that your time is running out with Paul Reed. But with that being said, there still is time. You still have a little bit of time, a little bit of leeway to figure things out. Could be interesting in a trade package if there's a team selling and they have a wing shooter and they're looking to go young. You could possibly throw in Paul Reed for a trade, but keeping him around, seeing how he does, feeling things out, I think will do dividends for the Sixers.
Yeah, and looking at this roster, if you guys didn't know, the Sixers are currently over the limit by 2 players. So
Right.
either we have to cut them by training camp or trade them. And I do not expect Daryl Morey to make any cuts. I expect to get this down to the roster limit just through trades.
Yeah, and I would expect players like Trevelin Queen maybe, or even Jaden Springer to start off in G League.
Mm-hmm.
So with you could have those guys on NBA contracts, but in the G League for 45 games, I think around there. So if you can split your time like that and give yourself a cushion to make some trades, I think that's what Daryl will do. But I want to see Jaden Springer in NBA action for sure this year. That's one of the biggest things with the roster configuration is who's getting traded. I don't expect anybody to get cut. Who's going to get who's going to go to Delaware? That's the biggest thing for me. I would expect Trevelin Queen might be the first one down just to start off, or maybe he even starts in the NBA. But I want to see Jaden Springer get actual real minutes this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And he was playing very well
Yep.
in the G League last year. His numbers improved pretty much all of his numbers improved.
Right.
He should be NBA ready in a few years. But, going back to the roster limit thing, I mean, you look at this roster and you think, like, who could we trade? There's
Right.
guys like Matisse Thybulle. I mean, you could throw
Mhm.
Paul Reed in a package. I mean, if you want to, maybe Isaiah Joe, if that moves the needle for some teams. But I mean, I've always been on the Isaiah Joe train, but not so much lately.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that you got to keep Isaiah Joe in there. Him and Furkan Korkmaz have to have something of a competition.
Furk's on the team now. He's staying. He's staying now because of what
The,
happened the last week. He's got to stay on the
yeah,
team.
I still think that is not going to be a shock if you see him in trade rumors for sure. Maybe not to the Indiana Pacers, uh, where he'd be teammates with Bataze. That's a different story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that all in all, you're going to see some roster moves that we don't expect because we can, try and analyze this and predict anything, but it's not bound to happen the way we think it is because we know what Daryl Morey will do. I mean, he signed Montrezl Harrell in September. That's out of the blue, out of the ordinary for us. So I think that Daryl is going to be a bit spontaneous with what he does, but like you said, there will be more moves for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at a guy at Harrell's level and you have to sign him at that cost. I feel like that's an absolute must that you sign him. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
great contract. But
yeah. I mean, you also have Julian Champagne on the team.
yeah, he will definitely
So
be down in the
yeah,
G League this year.
and Michael Foster Jr. So those are two
Mhm.
guys you could easily send down. But I would definitely expect Michael Foster Jr. to be sit down his rookie season. I mean, straight out of high school.
Yeah.
So, um, I mean, he's definitely going to be sent down. So I think him, along with Champagne, who's on a two-way. So there you have it,
Mhm.
21 years old on a two-way. So that gives you some leeway for Jaden Springer to
Yeah,
really try and
this could be a big year for a couple guys in the G League. Jane Springer, Trevelin Queen,
yep.
um,
Isaiah Joe, I would
I,
like to get a lot more
Isaiah
minutes,
Joe could.
consistent minutes.
Yeah,
And
that's his that's his struggle with especially sometimes when he's not hitting his shots is it's hard for him to get minutes and you're not in your usual flow as
right.
playing half the game in the G League. So that's definitely a reason to why his numbers haven't been up to like I'd say they should be. Just because he hasn't been able to get in the flow and he just needs the playing time.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing. But for me, it's just hard to have him and Korkmaz on the court together,
Hmm.
and it's hard for him and Korkmaz to be at the court at all times
Yeah.
for the Sixers. So you can't play a whole game in where either one of Joe and Korkmaz is on the court for 48 minutes. We just will not be a good team.
Hmm.
But you also can't play a game where you have Korkmaz and Joe on the same court for more than 5 minutes. So there's a lot of things stylistically that Doc Rivers will have to work out, and I have no faith in which he will do. So
Absolutely.
that's a thing is, you know, Furkan might have to be on the move. Making $5 million a year is going to be tough. To package him with anything. Um,
Yeah,
I
especially
mean,
because we really can't take any more money,
right.
you
I
know,
think at some point you have to make a decision
yeah.
of where to go, and there will be a deadline move. This is not a complete roster. This will not be the roster we see in March. So this is one of
Absolutely.
the things that you got to play around with, and only thing we'll be able to tell. It won't be from training camp tweets. It won't be from the preseason. It'll be from actual games, and not the first week of the season. It'll be 20, 30 games into the season where we will really be able to tell who's legit, who's staying, who's having, a career year, and then who we might need to move on to. And we'll also see teams that are going to begin to sell, and what do they have that could benefit us? What do we have that could benefit them? Right now, it's so hard to tell. There's a lot of teams that look like they're good. We talked about there's 11 possible teams that could make a playoff run in the East. Not all of those teams obviously are not going to be in the playoffs, and one of those teams is going to have a disappointing year.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a playoff roster. They're going to blow things up. It's a good chance that there's going to be a team out there willing to give away a player, an asset that's not even on the radar right now. And I think Darryl understands that. So the fact that you gotta keep your assets for now, wait a good chunk into the season, and then ship them away if needed, like we did with Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
Patience is going to be key.
Yeah, and the new implemented plan within the last few years has changed the number of selling teams because teams want to get into the play-in, and there's less teams selling. But like you said, around 30 to 35 games into the season, teams will know if we're going to make the play in the playoffs or we're not going to. So that's when you get your real
Right.
number of selling teams, and then you hit the phones and trade for a vet that could help you off the bench.
Yeah, speaking of vets, we got Furkan Korkmaz, who's now into that veteran role, and he's taken it to the tunnel, literally. Where
Literally.
he was followed by two Georgian players, one of them being Goga Batadze of the Pacers, which I alluded to earlier. Thursday, FIBA announced that it would be opening its disciplinary action, so that was last week. So they're gonna review everything. Furkan does have to be respective and cooperate with the investigation, but it's pretty clear that he wasn't at fault at any of this. He says he was attacked by three players. That was an on-court incident, boiled over into the tunnel, into the locker room. So very interesting here. Going on in Eurobasket. They eventually did get eliminated by France in that tournament.
France is very good.
France is very good as well. So I think you're going to have some things probably come out in the next week or two. By the time we have another podcast, there might be some disciplinary actions. But this is this is crazy. We talked about Furkan in playing in this a podcast ago, and he was kind of leading this Turkey team. But we didn't think it would end up like this.
Yeah, and it's crazy because obviously on-court beef is on-court beef, but you rarely ever see it, go off the court, and that's exactly what happened. Three players came and tried to attack him, and thankfully he's all right. And I don't really think they did too much to him, but that's just very stupid by the nation of Georgia, and their team.
I think that we've seen another side of Furkan Korkmaz, and I don't hate it.
I loved what I saw in the video of him. Obviously, we would love to show you the video, but last time we showed a video of Furkan, we got copyrighted, so we can't show any more Eurobasket. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no more Eurobasket or no more Furkan. I would be fine if we just assumed it was Furkan Korkmaz and his agency that copyrighted it. Because then that would free our viewership of Furkan highlights or anything that has to do with Furkan. And I also wouldn't hate that either.
Hey, when are we ever showing Furkan highlights?
Yeah, that's true. But do they exist? I'm sure they do. I'm sure
his 40-point game in the
Yep.
summer league.
Okay.
I remember watching that live. They called him
game-winning shot against the Trailblazers.
Ooh. I remember watching that. That was a late night game.
Yeah,
in Portland.
Game tying shot against the Bucks, which Giannis sat on our court when they won in overtime.
Oh, you know what? I would love to. I've been waiting. I'm just waiting to play the Bucks in the playoffs. So, Joel can just go right out in center court and just sit right on it, have a good old time. But we'll see. Hopefully, I've been rooting for it for the past few years.
For Joel to do that, he'll need to use some of his new help, and we're gonna grade the off-season moves. Joel's new help for the season. We're gonna start off, and we're gonna ask Tony if he is able to come join us in this grading. But Sixers 5 new players now, including Montrezl Harrell. Hey Tony, PJ Tucker. I'm going to start this off with a B. It's a good fit contract using the mid-level exception on someone like PJ Tucker at his age. Little iffy to me. You could have done other things, but it is PJ Tucker. He will fit well in the system, plays well with James Harden, and is a good friend of Daryl Morey. But I have a B as of right now. I might move to a C if there's tampering involved.
I'm gonna go a little bit higher, and I'm gonna say a B plus. You always love to have a dog, an absolute dog on your team, and that's what PJ Tucker is. Yes, the contract was a bit big. We had to use our whole mid-level exception, but
Yeah.
that's another dog, another corner shooter that you're adding to your team. A great defender, but obviously he is 37.
Yeah,
So
38, I believe.
38.
Well, he will
Yeah,
be 38.
He will
he's
be
he's
38. Yeah.
he's getting there. So I mean, it's a
Yeah,
B
that's the
plus.
thing,
B
though.
plus for
If we
me.
give PJ Tucker, 38 years old, that contract, and we end up losing a second round pick, I will be pissed.
Yeah,
I will not be happy.
Yeah. Not much to say from me. I'll give it a B as well. Obviously we could have used a glue guy, a dog like PJ Tucker, but I'm not the biggest fan of the contract. But if we get a championship out of it, I mean, it might be an A. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll use a B plus right here. It's on Montrezl Harrell. Obviously, I think that he can do well, but he's going to take some time to get adjusted. But I think, like I said, if he can really become a serviceable starting center when Embiid is out, this will be an A. But so right now, I got it for B plus.
I currently have this at a B. Reasons being, things could turn out very bad with this pickup. There's a possible chance he might not perform at his highest level and might not fit with the team or I mean something that's out of his control. But Doc could play a very very big role in what Montrezl Harrell contributes to this team, and it could be bad. But also it could be really good. But I'm too afraid to give it. I was gonna give it an A minus, but after really thinking about it, I just got to stick with a B.
Yeah, I'll give it a B minus. I'm not the biggest Montrezl Harrell fan myself in general, but he is better than what Paul Reed or Charles Bassey would bring at this point, in my opinion. Obviously, he's got the ties: Doc Rivers, Daryl Morey. He'll be good for the regular season. I don't really trust him in the playoffs. But
it's another dog.
It is another dog. We do need the dogs, but
Got the dogs.
if he's used correctly, it'll be good. If not,
yeah. And he's in a 6-man role, where he was excelling in LA.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'll use an A plus right here. DeAnthony Melton could not have been better. You look at who you get, a great player that's going to fill a much needed hole in your offense. You give away a virtual non-existent dead asset in Danny Green. Are you kidding me? This is one
just
of the
a
best
destroyed
trades.
leg.
This is one of the best trades of the Morey era for sure.
It's definitely up there.
Two of them both involved Danny Green. Danny Green coming to the Sixers was a top 3 trade of Daryl Morey's tenure, and then him leaving is also a top 3 trade.
It's number 3 and number 2.
James
Harden is obviously number 1, but yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with an A plus here as well. It's a great pickup. Another shooter you can bring off the bench. I really like it. It's something that you always need. He's young. He's only 23 years old, and instead of using a second round pick on some, I wouldn't call him a random, but a guy that wouldn't contribute. A guy that wouldn't contribute to your offense. Instead, you package away Danny Green, whose leg is absolutely torn into bits, and the random player, and you get DeAnthony Melton, a good shooter off the bench. I mean, I love it. I love it. and I agree that it's one of Daryl's best moves he's made since he's been here.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of things. It was like for D'Anthony Melton, the Grizzlies got a cooked leg and a basketball player that should be a sophomore in college.
Yeah, that's literally what it
Yeah.
is. I mean, we
Yeah,
got a
it should be
steal. We got an
yeah.
absolute steal.
Yep. Yeah, I'll give it an A. I really like D'Anthony Melton. The Grizzlies were one of my favorite teams last year.
They're gonna be my favorite team this year again.
I love them again.
Yeah.
But
You know, wait, Tony. You know,
what's up?
you said the Grizzlies were one of your favorite teams last year. I actually saw a tweet from Graham the other day. It said, "Tony is a fan."
Okay,
of every team.
I'm glad you're doing this. I'm glad you're doing this. We can if you want, I can finish. We can do this later if you want. Later in the episode.
Let's finish this first.
Yeah, I agree. That's fine. We'll definitely get to that because
I'm sorry. I had to throw it in there.
D'Anthony Melton, A.
D'Anthony Melton, A. Obviously, good shooter, pretty decent defender. Not too sure about the offensive creation, but he should fit in well with this team. If he does what he's supposed to do, I think he could have a 6th man of the year type season. Like Montrezl Harrell, I guess. But yeah, A. He should be a very good rotational piece.
Daniel House, I have him as a B plus. Cheaper on the cheaper end of things. I think that he could be good, but he's definitely a streaky shooter. Would want to see him. I don't know how to view his prime because he started off to play really well with Houston. He got moved around a bit. If he can find a home in Philadelphia, it's going to work out really well. I like Daniel House as a player. As of right now, I got him at a B plus.
Yeah, I have this at a simple B. I think he could contribute. Like you said, he is a streaky shooter, but he's been trying to find his home for a while. He's been thrown around a few times, but if he can come off the bench, contribute like we need him to, then it'll be a great pickup. We got him for cheap, so hopefully it'll turn out right.
Yeah, I don't have much to say on Daniel House. I don't know how big of a rotational guy he'll be. Obviously he'll be towards the end of the bench. He's a good shooter. If he gets on the court, I expect him to shoot well. I'll give it a C plus B minus. I mean, he's not like a huge addition, but he can bring value if he's utilized correctly. So,
And at Trevelin Queen, this is a tough one to really gauge because we know he won't see the court a lot. And with that being in effect, obviously he's on a contract of like $1 million. Nothing that's nothing at all to these NBA salaries. But I'm gonna go, just to see. It was an average pickup. Every team seems to get this one player a year where they're good in the G League or they have really good potential, went undrafted. It's a nice story. Would love to see him put it to the court, but there's also a good chance that he can play 14 minutes this season and never see an NBA court again. So with that, I'm going with a C.
Yeah, I'll just. I don't know. You can grade this anything below a B.
You could say A plus because he could be a great player.
Sure.
I mean, there's so many things.
Sure, I'll just give it a B minus. I mean, he's a reigning G League MVP.
Right.
He's got some great upside. You don't lose much. I mean, if he doesn't turn out well, he's on a cheap contract. So, if this guy turns out to be really good, then you look like an absolute genius. So, I like it, and he'll be getting G League minutes this year.
Yeah, in terms of the Sixers, I'd give it like a C. But in terms of the Delaware Bluecoats, man, that's an A plus, man. G League MVP on the Bluecoats, man. We get Paul. And Paul Reed should not be playing in the G League, but if he does, I mean, they're going to be nasty.
If you guys don't watch Bluecoats games,
nasty.
you should watch Bluecoats games. They're actually pretty interesting. I watched a bunch last year.
Yeah, they're good. I watch a lot of Jaden Springer. And shout out Harrison Grimm. It was his birthday today of the recording, so it was his birthday yesterday. He's Jaden Springer's #1 fan. So shout out to him. He keeps everybody updated.
I thought you were Jaden Springer's #1.
I'm his #2 fan. Okay, but Harrison Grimm
Didn't somebody that knows Jaden Springer like one of your tweets?
Yeah. Jane Springer's mom shared my
His
YouTube
mom
video.
Oh, that's sick, actually.
Shared my YouTube video of Jaden Springer film analysis.
There you go.
And I might chase a little bit of clout. So Tony or Justin, this will be in the description. That link to the Jaden Springer film analysis
Yep.
will be in the
Absolutely.
description link. There we go.
I know a lot of people don't know much about him, but I'll definitely check out the link in the
update
description.
it. I'm gonna update a couple weeks into the season because I followed him
We
closely.
need
I
a new
watched
Graham video.
Yeah,
we
do.
need a new Graham video.
Man, the amount of film I've watched on Jaden Springer the last 2 years is like 30 hours. So it's insane.
Oh, wow.
Trust me. He was,
okay.
he was a target. Him and Ayo Dosunmu have watched like 50 hours
I
combined.
wanted Ayo so bad.
Yeah, but so yeah, that's one thing we gotta check out. But we didn't get too many birthday shout outs because there wasn't one of a Sixer related player for today, but yesterday, Harrison Grimm. Shout out to the homie.
I think
All right,
that's
Tony,
all that we
Tony.
have, or we have more.
You're a fan of every team. You have 15 seconds to explain.
Wait, can you give him the background at least?
Go,
What do you
go.
mean?
No, go. Just go.
Okay, look, I'm a fan primarily of the sport first. Don't do that. Don't do that. Look, I'll ride and die for the Sixers or the Eagles or whoever. But I appreciate good ball players, regardless of the sport. I do have players that I don't like. Okay, but I mean, if you're young, you're exciting. I mean, there's no reason for me not to like you. So, I had a tweet on my other account. I wish I had it. It was I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was basically said I had no reason to hate any player unless they give me a reason to.
I hate a lot of players.
I mean, I don't like a lot of the Cowboys players, or like I don't really have anyone.
Yeah,
in the NBA, I'm not gonna
I
lie.
hate
But that's
Schuster right now.
That's fair. That's fair. Mike Williams.
Your time's up. Your time's up.
No.
If you want some the most bandwagon tweet of all time, go on Saturday from noon until about 8:30. You'll see Tony cheer for every single college football team. It's crazy.
I did not like
how he does
don't
it.
do that.
He cheers for every single college football team. No, every single one.
Every single one. What are you talking about?
Maybe not Clemson.
I was actively praying on Oregon's downfall versus. That's because
I like every football team. You like 97% of college football teams you're cheering for on a daily basis. That's all we have for today. It is
whoa.
No, that's all. We got to end on that.
It's your favorite part of the podcast, everybody. Tweets of the day.
We have tweets of the day.
What do we have?
Oh my god, we have tweets of the day. Who did this?
You,
Tony. Would you bring that up?
Absolutely.
Tony. You.
Go ahead.
You. What is that? That's a Timberwolves jersey.
That was a leak from today that we obviously found out was fake, but I do like that jersey.
I don't like that jersey.
Why do you like that jersey? I
love the font. I love the font.
Ew, that's terrible.
No.
I love the font.
No.
Come on.
The font's
Philadelphia in the bottom
font's
left.
not bad, but like this. Yeah, why is the stars? Like I understand, but it looks like a
obviously
Timberwolves jersey.
Obviously, the Timberwolves have had something similar. Obviously, we could do better. I'm just saying,
absolutely, could do better.
I like it.
I think that's
grade that 1 to 10. Grade that 1 to 10.
That's a 3.
A 5.5. It's a 3. 5.5.
That's worse than mid. It's like simple, trying to over modernize.
It's
where is that color in the color palette?
That's blue.
It's no.
It's like
if you match that with the thing.
Don't ask me colors. I'm colorblind.
Okay. If you match that with the thing in Graham's background, it's not even close. No.
Okay. All right.
It's like we have
another one?
Here.
I don't know why he had me do
it's
this one.
Okay. Whoa.
I'll let you explain that one.
Noah just dropping bombs.
So this is the bottom tweet. There is the original tweet. I'm assuming that where he came out and told it was from this guy, and then the guy comes out. This is really strange. It did not come from me. So that's where you see it's fake.
The more you know, it is.
Guys,
fake.
don't listen to everything you see on Twitter.com because most of it is false.
That's correct. It was Daryl Moore's birthday the other day, though.
It was.
Yes.
It was.
Happy Daryl Moore.
Happy belated birthday,
yes,
Mr. Daryl Moore.
Old man. Let's go.
All right. And I think that's
Quit being
all we
fat and
have.
get to work.
Yeah. Is that all we have for today, Graham?
That's all we have today. I had to call
Thank you
Daryl fat for
guys
the
so
one time.
much for
Shout out D.
watching. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 17 of Scenes from the Spectrum. Harrell is a Sixer edition. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to follow our socials. You see that right there in the bottom left at SFTS Podcast on Twitter, and the same thing on Instagram, just with a little underscore after it. Make sure you can find us on TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, pretty much anywhere. So thank you guys for watching. Keep your notifications on. We'll be back. Have a good rest of your day.